Alan Stevens is a highly respected media expert who sat up through the night watching the vice presidential debate and commentating. We spoke to him via webcam a few hours after the debate. This is his expert take on the debate and what business people can learn from it.
I think the main thing to say about last night's debate is that nothing really much happened. Sarah Palin obviously had a lot of coaching. She avoided any traps and disasters. She did an adequate job. She got through it, and I think most of her Republican supporters will be very relieved to have seen her performance. Joe Biden, on the other hand, avoided being condescending and aggressive. He could have lost the sympathy vote if he had done. He performed particularly well in terms of the depth of his answers. But I think overall, Biden probably shaded it on points, but I think the Republicans will be most relieved today. It's clear that Palin has had some intense coaching, some intense media and interview coaching. I suspect she's been given 20 to 25 good answers that she could use during debate and given a technique that we call bridging, which allows her to get from the question to the answer. I think to start out in the interview, in the debate rather, she was clearly trying to get to those answers as well as she could, and she was avoiding some of the questions to begin with. It looked like she wasn't going to answer the questions at all. She's had a lot of coaching. She knew the answers, but I think it shows she had a good memory rather than any depth. And Joe Biden, on the other hand, had been asked, obviously, not to ramble on too much. He succumbed to the temptation a couple of times, but he's been pretty heavily coached as well. While I was watching the start of the debate, it was clear that Sarah Palin, she was looking straight into the camera, but on the other hand, she was also looking quite strained. Her shoulders were very tense, her face was tense. She's really going to have to rest her smile muscles at the end of this performance because she was smiling throughout and obviously was told to smile. I thought she looked a little false, but it may have come across as a good performance if you weren't aware of those subtle body language signs and images. Biden looked very relaxed throughout. He's an experienced campaigner. He knows how to hold himself in front of a camera, and he did what he always does. Sarah Palin had been taught well, and I think probably for most people she would have looked okay. The lessons for business people from watching the Palin-Biden debate would be, one thing that's very important is to get your core message out there, to make sure that you deliver the message that you intend to deliver. Sarah Palin was very good at that. She'd been coached very well, but it's not just about getting your core message out. You've got to do it in a clever way that looks as though you're answering the question. So we use a bridging technique, which gets us from the question asked to the answer to be delivered. And you've got to be very concise, and she certainly was that. Joe Biden, on the other hand, was demonstrating his expertise, his depth of knowledge, and he was dropping in facts and figures. Another very good business technique, to use what we call the killer fact. Get facts and figures in to demonstrate that you've got evidence to back up your case. He tended to ramble a little, and I think the lesson there from watching Joe Biden was that you should stick to your topic. So if I was a business person watching this, the lesson that I would take a core messaging from Sarah Palin and bridging, and staying on topic from Joe Biden. The best way to develop your core message is to think, what's the most important thing I have to say today? Your audience, whatever form of communication you're using, whether you're doing a presentation, whether you're doing a media interview, will only remember one or two things that you've said. Your job as a communicator is to make sure that the message that you're delivering is the message they take away. So you sit down and analyse all of the things you've got to say, and imagine if there's only one thing they remembered from me today, what would that be? And that's your core message.